بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Inshallah, in today's talk about the life of Uthman bin Affan radiallahu an, today's part 8 of the series. We will talk about the way Uthman bin Affan radiallahu an was elected as the Khalifa. In the past, we talked about the life of Uthman prior to Islam, from his birth until the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he became Muslim through Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu an. And then we talked about his life during the Meccan era of the Seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he also migrated to Habasha. And then we talked about his life in the Medina with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then his life in the era of the Khilafah of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu an and Umar bin Khattab radiallahu an. Now today we'll talk about how he became the Khalifa at the time when Umar bin Khattab radiallahu an was stabbed, and he nominated some of the Sahaba to be to the Khalifa to be elected from. Now, before we talk about that, so last week, the summary of last week is that we talked about his role in the life of Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar, and two main aspects of his roles in the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar was he was a very close advisor for both the Khalifas, and also his work in the economic aspect of the Muslims when the Muslims were in need. He played a great role, as he did in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, also because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with wealth, and he used and utilized the wealth in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and later on in the Khilafah of Umar and Abu Bakr as well. But one of the key roles he had was his role in as advisor. Within the advisory, he played the role of the one who was consulted regarding the issue of the Kharaj in the time of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an, the issue of the calendar, for example, when calendar to be started. He was also one of the people who led the group of people who were performing the Hajj along with the Ummahatul Mu'mineen in the last year of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an. And he was also an advisor to Abu Bakr Siddiq in many cases, including when Abu Bakr radiallahu an was on his deathbed. He was one of the advisors who advised Abu Bakr to go along with Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an. Now, when we talk about the way he was chosen as the Khalifa after Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an, it's important to understand a little bit of the background that what happened, what led Umar to choose or to nominate a few of the Sahaba. So Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an was one of those people who did not, as one of there's a hadith actually, there's a long hadith which is mentioned, reported by Bukhari, that talks about the assassination of Umar al-Khattab, the Shahada of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an, and also how Umar al-Khattab radiallahu an was the one who nominated some of the Sahaba to have a Khalifa elected from them. Now, to understand that, as I said, number one thing, I just mentioned something that a lot of time people are not aware of. I mentioned that this hadith is reported by Bukhari, and a lot of time people think of it when somebody says it's a hadith or is a hadith mentioned by the book by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah in his Sahih. People think of it as if the hadith would always automatically means it's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when we're talking about the assassination of Umar ibn Khattab, and he is the one who is choosing or nominating the Khalifa to be, obviously that was after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was already gone. So that shows that Bukhari also compiled, along with the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were ahadith of the Sahaba as well. And these are called different categories of the hadith. The hadith that goes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that hadith is called marfu'. The hadith that goes to a sahabi, his actions and his sayings are mentioned there, his opinions are mentioned there. Those are hadith, even though it's called hadith, but this hadith is called mawquf. While not only that, you may find a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, which is the hadith of the tabi'een, the next generation after the Sahaba as well. Now, in that case, that hadith is referred as, it is the hadith, but it is maqtu'. Maqtu' is different than mawquf and marfu'. So marfu' goes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The one goes to Sahabi is mawquf, and tabi'i is maqtu'. Now, here in this hadith, it's a long hadith that is reported, and before going to the hadith, which is reported by Amr bin Maymun. A little bit of a background: in the time of Umar al-Khattab, he was very reluctant of allowing any of the kuffar to be in Medina, and he wanted to keep all the kuffar to be out of Medina. But some of the Sahaba, they wanted to have some of those workers, slaves that they had when the land of Persia was open, or the Romans were open. There were some slaves they had, and they wanted them to be in Medina. And after Sahaba's requests over and over, including Abbas radiallahu anhu was one of them, he allowed the non-Muslim slaves to be in Medina as well. And hence we will understand that why and how a non-Muslim, a Majusi slave, who was a slave of Al-Mughira, that he ended up stabbing Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu when he was ready for Salah. So again, just to mention that that's the reason that those slaves were there. Now, as usual, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he was there for Salatul Fajr, and when he was whenever he used to pray, he would go to each row, walk through them, and make sure between the two rows that the rows are straight. And if not, then he will tell them to make the row straight. And once the rows are straight, then he would go back. And this is what narrated by Amr bin Maymun, and he's mentioning that that's what he did, like a usual thing. And he used to recite Surah Yusuf or Surah Nahl. So in the first rak'ah, so the more and more people can join the Salatul Jama'ah over there for the Fajr. Now, so that's the normal thing that he did. And Amr bin Maymun says that he was right behind Abdullah bin Abbas and Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So he was not far away, so hence when he's reporting this report. And when he said Allahu Akbar, and right away Abu Lulwa, which was the slave of Al-Mughira, he stabbed Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. And Umar said that the dog has killed or eaten me at that time, the way he replied back to him. And he not only stabbed Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, but he stabbed 13 people on his way to Umar al-Khattab. When he stabbed him on his shoulder, and then stabbed on his stomach on the side as well. Now, and he had like a two-edged kind of the dagger that he made. Now, or the knife, double-edged. Now, when the Sahaba, they saw that he attacked Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, so they wanted to stop him. And while Umar, when he was stabbed, he pushed Abdurrahman bin Auf to the front so he can continue the Salah. So there were so many people in the Masjid, not everybody knew what happened. The people in the back rows, they only realized that Umar's voice is not there. And because they were not hearing Umar's voice, so they started saying Subhanallah. As we know of, if Imam is making a mistake, or in this case, can think of it as if they're not hearing Umar's voice, so they might have thought of it as if Umar is reciting like a sirri salah, meaning in a lower voice. So they are reminding him that he has to recite. While in reality, what happened was he moved Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu to lead the salah. And Abdurrahman bin Auf, he quickly finished the Salatul Fajr, and then they moved back to Umar al-Khattab, and he saw that he was injured. And while he was injured, Umar al-Khattab, and he asked the Sahaba what happened. So when Abu Lu'lu'a, he was attacking, so Sahaba were trying to stop him, the others. So he continued his spree of killing. As I mentioned, there were 7 other Sahaba, other men who were also martyred during this time. But one of the Sahabi, what he did was he put his cloak on him and to trap him, to Abu Lu'lu'. And when he was trapped, he realized that he cannot run away, so he killed himself. Now, Umar was not aware of it was Abu Lu'lu' at that time. He asked, and the Sahaba went back and they started looking who was the person who was doing that. And when they found out it was a Majusi, it was a non-Muslim who killed him, Umar was glad, he was happy that he was killed by a non-Muslim. So he will be a shaheed. As there was one of the reports mentioned that Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh, he used to make dua of being a shaheed. And the Sahaba used to say, how can you be a shaheed in Medina? In Medina, you're secure, there are Muslims here, how can you be a shaheed here? So he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he can make the things happen. And hence, he had the wish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him one of the martyrs, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heard his dua. And of course, we talked about previously when we were talking about the du'as or the glad tidings that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave about Uthman bin Affan. Along with that, one of the report that we discussed was when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on Uhud, the mountain of Uhud, and the mountain was trembling, was shaking, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, because he was with Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman, and he said to the mountain that calm down. You have a prophet, you have a Siddiq, and 2 martyrs on your on you. So the mountain Uhud started trembling or shaking, which is a sign of saying that Uthman and Umar were going to be martyrs or the shuhada. And that's what we see. In the case of Umar, Umar was glad that he was stabbed by a non-Muslim, and inshallah he will be a martyr. Now, after that, Abdurrahman bin Auf, as I said, he was very close to him, and the Sahaba, they took Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh back to his home. Now, after Salah was over, they took back, and Umar asked, said to Ibn Abbas, when he asked him to find out who it was, so Umar told him that curse him, I did not treat him unjustly. Why he said about I did not treat him unjustly? Because him, Abu Lu'lu'a, before he killed Umar al-Khattab, once he came to Umar and he said to Umar that Mughira make him work a lot, and after the day he takes 4 dirham from me. Now Umar said, be nice to your master. Now Umar, in his mind, he wanted to talk to Mughira as well, but he was just giving him advice of be nice to your master. Now Abu Lu'lu'a, he got angry and he said, you're being merciful and you're being nice to everybody except me. So you are, he was saying that you are treating me differently than the rest of the people. And that's why Umar said that the curse at him, I was going to talk to his master as well. Anyways, so now he said to Ibn Abbas that your father used to love to have more of these non-Arab kuffar in Medina. Okay, and now, so he said, do you wish us to go kill them all? And Umar said, you are misunderstanding me what I am saying, because now they speak our language and they are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they pray towards the Qibla, they become Muslim also. Of course, there's some, like Abu Lu'lu'a, he was not Muslim, but there's many of them, they actually became Muslim also, and they perform Hajj. We cannot do that to them. And then anyway, so Umar was taken to the house. When he went to the house, they made him some food some drinks to drink, including the drink from dates. But the drink that he take, it starts coming out of his body, from his stomach, from belly. Then they gave him some milk, and the milk started coming out of his wounds as well, because the wounds that he got on the belly that punctured the stomach and where the food was going. So they realized that this is going to be, seems like Umar radiallahu anh would die because of these wounds. So so a man came and he said to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, he says, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, receive the glad tidings from the Allah to you due to your company with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and your superiority in Islam, which you know that you became the ruler of the Khalifa and you rule with justice, and finally you have been martyred." So Umar said, "I wish that all these privileges will counterbalance my shortcomings, so that I will neither lose or gain anything." Subhanallah, people like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh are thinking about themselves like that. This is a question for ourselves to think about ourselves. Where are we at? When people like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh think of life like this, that if that counterbalance everything, that's sufficient for Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh. And then, and after that, he called up his son, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh, and he told him about the debts that he had. He said, "See that how much debt he has, and whatever property I have, sell that, and if it can take care of the debts. If that doesn't, then go to Banu Adi." The Banu Adi was the tribe Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh was from. He said, "If that does not fulfill, then go to Quraysh, because Banu Adi is one of the clans from the Quraysh tribe. If that doesn't suffice, then go further. That's the end, then you take care of it. Then it's the son's job to take care of the loans, if he does, of course." So when the debt was checked, he had about 86,000 of debt. And that's why he was asking to take care of that debt. Now, also, he told his son, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh, another great Sahabi of Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told them to go to Aisha radiallahu anha, one of the Ummatul Mu'mineen, the daughter of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, and he said, go to her and say, "Umar is paying his salam to you." And he also said, "Do not say Amir al-Mu'mineen." He said, "I am no longer the chief," because of the wounds that he received. He was thinking of himself on the deathbed, and he said that they say that Umar ibn Khattab is the one who sent the salam, and say Umar ibn Khattab asked the permission to be buried with his two companions, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Now, when this happened, Aisha radiallahu anha, when he met her, she was already crying because of when she heard about Umar bin Khattab. And when Abdullah bin Umar entered, he mentioned what Umar requested, and she said it was because Umar has asked now, she will give this to Umar, even though she wanted that place for herself. Okay, and she did that. But now when Umar went back to Abdullah bin Umar went back to Umar and asked, Umar asked him, "So what happened?" So he mentioned that Aisha radiallahu anha said, "Whatever you wish," basically. Now Umar said, "Alhamdulillah," but he said at the same time, "When I die, again go to Aisha and ask the permission for Aisha again, that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anha asked the permission to be buried. And if she refuses, then bury me with the regular people, the rest of the Muslimin." So he made sure that it is by her consent, not because of whatever situation she was in at that time. And she did not say no. Even if she changes her mind, that's her right, that she can change her mind. Now, Hafsa radiallahu anha, the daughter of Umar al-Khattab and the wife of one of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she came with other women and to meet the father. And then this is Umar is reporting the whole story, and he mentioned then the other men came. When the other men came, all these women, including Hafsa, they went away. Now they could hear they were talking to Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh about what? They start asking about to appoint a successor, appoint a Khalifa. Successor, by the way, is a term for Khalifa. The meaning of the Khalifa is successor. This is why we call Abu Bakr Siddiq as a Khalifatul Rasul, successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the time of Umar, that title became Khalifatul Rasul, the successor of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that would have gone longer and longer. So in the time of Umar, they adopted a title Amir al-Mu'mineen. We talked about that when we were discussing the life of Umar ibn Khattab. We're not going to go again here. But so here what happened was, So here it was asked from Umar radiallahu anh to appoint a Khalifa. When they asked him to appoint a Khalifa, Umar said he did not want to appoint a Khalifa, by the way. Appoint meaning he did not want to even nominate a Khalifa. And one of the things he mentioned was the one who was better than me, okay? The one who was better than me, he nominated me, talking about Abu Bakr. But the one who was better than Abu Bakr, he did not nominate anybody. So Sahaba understood he's not going to nominate anybody. So when they pushed him more, so he nominated 6 people. Okay, who are those 6 people? 6 people were Uthman bin Affan, Ali bin Abi Talib, Zubair bin Awam, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas, Abdurrahman bin Auf, and there was Talha, Talha radiallahu anhu. So now these are the 6. Now, even though, and all these 6, the way, one of the reasons they mentioned in the books is they were mentioned because they were from the 10 people to whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the glad tidings of Jannah. By the way, there was one more person who was still alive besides these 6, and that was Sa'id bin Zayd radiallahu anhu. The reason, as the scholars say, that he was not chosen by Umar because he did not want any of his family member to have a share in the ruling like this. Okay, so he did not want any kind of a nepotism kind of a things going on. So Sa'id bin Zayd was not only his cousin, he was from Banu Adi as well, and also he was the husband of his wife, of his sister Fatima bin Khattab radiallahu anha. Now, so for that reason, he left him out. So these 6 were the ones who were told that they are the one who's going to be nominated. Now, some of the people nowadays, they think of it as if Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh, he came up a new method of choosing a Khalifa. And this is the misunderstanding. Because the choosing a Khalifa or the ruler, it was always the same from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was appointed or taken as the ruler by the bay'ah, because the bay'ah was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by the people of Yathrib. The people who had power, they gave him the pledge of allegiance, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became the ruler of Medina based on that. Okay, when Rasulullah passed away, at that time, when the Saqifa, when the Sa'ad bin Ubadah and the Ansar were gathered to choose a leader or the Khalifa at that time, when Rasulullah, when Umar bin Khattab and Abu Bakr went there, then between the Ansar and Muhajirin, they started discussing, and it came up, they wanted to choose a Khalifa between the 4 people. Who were those 4 people? Sa'ad bin Ubadah was already, they were discussing about. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, Umar bin Khattab, and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Okay, so these 4. Now Umar and Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, they pulled their names out. Now they were left with 2 people, Sa'ad bin Ubadah and Abu Bakr. And then the unanimous bay'ah was given to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. So again, the Khalifa was chosen through the bay'ah. A ruler in Islam is chosen through the process of giving a bay'ah or the pledge of allegiance. Okay. Now, in the time of Umar, Abu Bakr, when he was on his deathbed, he did not appointed Umar as the Khalifa. He nominated him. Again, Umar became the Khalifa through the bay'ah given by the people of the Medina. So it was always the case, the bay'ah was given. Now, whether it was 1 person and then the bay'ah was given to him, whether it was 4, or whether it was 6, from among the 6, the shura was there, and among those 6, then they were deciding who's the one who will be nominated or will be appointed as the Khalifa. But always, whichever one it was, he was given the bay'ah, and the bay'ah is the method to choose. Okay. Now, these are different means can be utilized, and that's what we see in all the cases, whether it was Rasulullah becoming the Hakim, or Abu Bakr, or Umar, and then Uthman also will see the very similar thing, which is, again, the bay'ah is the method to choose a ruler here. Okay. Now, among these 6, Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anh was one of the people that Umar trusted a lot, by the way. But besides that, he also appointed Abdullah bin Umar not to be, he's just an advisory role among these 6. And he actually gave very clear instructions that if these 6 are trying to choose one of the Khalifa, and 5 of them agree and 1 disagrees, meaning he's trying to disassociate himself or wants to fight with them, then one of the reports says he even said to kill them. And if 4 agree and 2 of them are bringing disunity, then kill the other 2. And that's based on one of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the way, that if somebody tries to bring the disunity, then the ruling is that. Now, and if there are 3, there's a tie. In the case of the tie, there are 2 reports. One says that Abdullah bin Umar is the one who is going to break the tie. Okay. Now, but if these people do not accept his tiebreaker, then it says whichever side Abdurrahman bin Auf is, then that side will be the one who will choose the Khalifa then. Okay. So this is what it says about 6. Now, besides that, he also appointed Suhaib al-Rumi. Suhaib al-Rumi radiallahu an, as the one who will be leading the salah during this whole process. During the whole process, Suhaib al-Rumi will be leading the salah. Okay. That leading the salah process was always thought of it as means that he is the ruler. He is the ruler in the absence of the Khalifa. Like not here, in another talk I was discussing the very same subject, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he used to leave the Medina for any kind of a ghazwa, then he would leave a person behind to take care of the affairs of the Medina. And sometimes he says he left a person to lead the salah. It meant the same thing. Leading the salah in that sense was leading the nation, actually. Okay. Now, so Suhaib al-Rumi was the ruler in during this time. Interim Khalifa at that time, you can say it. Now, I'm not sure if interim Khalifa is the right word, but interim ruler at that time. Okay. Now, and then he also had 2 other Sahaba. One was al-Miqdad al-Aswad, and al-Miqdad al-Aswad's job was, after Umar dies, make sure a place and time where these 6 people will gather, and they are the one who will be discussing among each other. And they were given 3 days to make sure that who is going to be the Khalifa. And there was another Sahabi, and I am missing the name of the Sahabi. Subhanallah. Suhaib al-Rumi. Yes, Abu Talha al-Ansari. Abu Talha al-Ansari was given a command to have 50 people with him, the one who will be watching over this proceeding that's happening, the proceeding of who will be the Khalifa. Now, after this whole these 6 people gather, and Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anh, he asked these 6. He said, "Is there anybody who would like to give up his candidacy, and for whom?" So Zubayr bin Awam radiallahu anh said, "I give up my right to Ali." And Talha said, "I give up my right for Uthman." While Sa'ad said, "I give up my right for Abdurrahman bin Auf." So these 3 took themselves out of the candidacy, but they are still part of the Shura who will be deciding who should be the Khalifa now. Now, among them, Abdurrahman bin Auf also, he pulled himself out. So only 2 people left, which was Uthman and Ali radiallahu anh. Among them, they had to choose who's going to be the Khalifa. Now, when these 6 were appointed, that did not mean that these 6 are the only one was thought of, that they are going to just choose one and they will become the Khalifa. Rather, Abdurrahman bin Auf, now he went to the people of the Medina, because Medina is the place where all the Sahaba were. And in general, all the great Sahaba, Umar did not allow them to leave Medina. They stayed in Medina. Hence, he went to them and asked them about who should be the Khalifa among them. Who do they prefer? Now, the Sahaba over there, they preferred Ali, but with this understanding that he will follow the footsteps of Abu Bakr and Umar. Whatever they agreed upon, he will agree. He will go along with them. And Ali declined. Because Ali declined, and Uthman bin Affan, he accepted that. So Uthman became the Khalifa through the bay'ah. The people gave the bay'ah to him. But before that, Abdurrahman bin Auf said, as the hadith in Bukhari says, he held up the hand of Ali, and he said to Ali, he said, "Will you?" He said, Abdurrahman said to Uthman, "Which one of you is willing to give up his right?" First, he said to both of them, which one, the two of you wants to give up his right? If any of them give up, then you remain with one. And he is the one who will get the bay'ah now. But none of them said anything, so they both kept silent. So now Abdurrahman bin Auf said one by one. First he talked to, as the report said, he talked to Ali. So he said to Ali, you are related to Allah's messenger and one of the earliest Muslims, as you know well. So I ask you by Allah to promise that if I select you as the ruler, you will do justice, and if I select Uthman as the ruler, you will listen to him and obey him. And Ali accepted. And then he took Uthman aside and said the same thing to him. And when Abdurrahman secured their agreement on this covenant, then he said, Uthman, raise your hand. Because this is what was understood, that Uthman will be the next Khalifa. And Uthman bin Affan, radiallahu anh, he was given the pledge of allegiance, including among the people who gave the bay'ah to Uthman was Ali radiallahu anh. So this is how Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh was selected as the Khalifa. And as the rest of them, including Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr and Umar, they were selected as the Khalifa, elected as a Khalifa by the bay'ah. Uthman radiallahu anh was also elected as the Khalifa through the process of the bay'ah. Okay, now very quickly, I think we'll just stop here, I guess, in today's, and inshallah next week we'll continue on with the rulings during the time of Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh. So if there's any questions or comments about the subject regarding how Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anh was elected as a Khalifa and the process or the method of choosing a leader in Islam as a head of the state, as a Khalifa,